Apple recently launched its final version of iOS 9.3.3 for iPod Touch, iPhone, and iPad owners to update their operating system. And now there's iOS 9.3.4 also out, which doesn't really fix anything in terms of performance or in terms of applications, doesn't add any new features, but also makes it a bit more difficult to jailbreak. With that being said, as an iPod Touch 5th generation owner, and I've actually had iOS 8 on this, the original operating system since the iPod came out, actually never experienced iOS version 9. So coming into 9.3.3, I saw a number of significant updates. So perhaps treat this as a bit of a blog, and I want to quickly point out some of the things that you might experience if you are an older owner of a iPod Touch or an older iPhone and you have finally decided to update to this newer firmware. So one of the things that you'll notice is that Passbook is no longer present, which was Apple's way of consolidating your online, boarding passes as well as maybe credit cards for payment, and now it's simply called Wallet. It essentially has the same function, but the interface has gotten a bit of a update in terms of although it still allows you to access virtually the same features. So that is just one minor changes in terms of the interface as well as what it is called. There's also the ability to directly input your boarding passes as well as card information by using the phone's QR scanner. So there's a bit of extra software that's been implemented. You can tap on that OK, and the phone will start to scan and search as well as input a specific code and add it to the wallet. So that's one of the features that are new. Otherwise, Apple also worked on health. So that's one of the apps that were expanded upon in the transition between iOS 8 and iOS 9. So for instance, now we have a dedicated health app, which gives me a few more settings to go and tweak. In addition, there is the presence of the news app, which has seen a bit of an update as well through the user interface. And it almost resembles something like a Blink feed on HTC, or perhaps a Flipboard if you're using just a typical Android device. So it consolidates all of your current news as well as categories of news that you're interested in, such as health or current events, so on and so forth. And once you select a few of those sources as well as magazines and providers that you like, it's going to continuously stream in new content as you pull it in. So you can pull to the top to refresh that, and afterwards just kind of read it in this list view, and gives it a pretty good reader-like view that you can then tap on to learn more information about a certain article. So it works fairly well and organizes it down below. So that is one of the other new improvements and new apps that I've noticed. Otherwise, the other apps are pretty much the same. Stability has improved somewhat, but I've also realized that on some things, since I have an older device running a newer operating system, it's going to be slower. So not as swift, not as responsive to open up even simple tasks. So that is one of the concerns as well as perhaps reasons not to update to a new firmware. Otherwise, we can see that there is some other things on here, such as Find iPhone or Find iPod. That's one of the new features. Same thing with Find Friends that were introduced from iOS 9 upwards, and this allows you to locate your phone if you lost it just by using your iCloud account. You log it in, and then you enter your information, and then you can locate your last known address. Uses the antennas to map its location onto a map, which you can then track, as well as manually allow your phone to ring, maybe send a message to it or lock it and delete all the information on it. So it's some enhanced security options that you can now access in the form of a mobile app. So other things are pretty much the same. I've also noticed that for the search bar or the universal search client, which you access by pulling down, there's also the presence of now a voice search key, which is something that wasn't there before. And also this is now a completely universal search. So not only does it search your applications, it also searches the web and your favorite websites for keywords that you might want to input. So it's a bit smarter in that sense as well. Everything else in terms of Siri as well as calendars, notes, I haven't really experienced too much of a significant bump in terms of changes in the app, but it still works fairly well. It's just gotten a little bit slower, especially if you're someone who opens a lot of apps and has a lot of content stored on your device. So anyways, guys, this has been a quick perhaps blog as well as an update that shows you guys some of the new updates you might be experiencing if you previously had iOS 8 or below and you're now deciding to update to that new iOS 9.3.3 or 9.3.4. Thanks for watching here at OS.